Well, with camping season upon us, it's time to bust out the good old belt knife, and you may feel like it's time to update that particular situation, and I have two vicious contenders for that particular role in the White River Knives FIRECRAFT 5 and the White River Knives Ursus 45. And even though these have similar dimensions and are made out of S35VN steel from the same manufacturer, they are quite different. So I'm gonna take you guys along with me as we test these out side by side in the Blade Boot Camp. So ultimately you can determine for yourself which tool is best suited for your particular needs and scenario. If you're new to the channel, thanks for joining me today. It's gonna be a wild ride. I'm Aaron, this is Gideonstactical. Let's go ahead and dive on in. That's a good cup of joe. Well, guys, let's talk about why we're all here. I mean, the business end, that's what we wanna see. We wanna see the blade action. We wanna see how it slices, how it dices, how it moves through material. Now, I'm quite familiar with the Ursus 45, so I wanna focus first on this FC5 since it's new to me. And as I began to really put it through its paces, the 5-inch overall blade length from Ricasso to tip, in conjunction with the consistent high saber grind on 0.157, which is the exact same stock thickness of the Ursus, that is like superbly laid out in dimensions for a camp knife, meaning that you get durability without it being too thick and bulky, but not too thin and flimsy like an 1/8 of an inch thick blade. I love a high saber grind, and that 5 inches really accelerates cuts as well as any other type of material that you want to go through. But how does that stack up compared to the Ursus? And you'll notice that the Ursus has a higher grind that sweeps up and is basically removed into a full flat tip faster than on the FIRECRAFT, and it has a slightly narrower blade. It's not quite as broad by maybe an 1/8 of an inch, maybe right around there. And so what I found in comparison to the FIRECRAFT is that the Ursus not only is better for food prep, so if you use your belt knife around camp for like a chef knife, kind of backup chef knife, this will absolutely do better with that. I found that the edge geometry, because of that higher grind sweeping, I was able to create feather sticks easier with the Ursus than with the FIRECRAFT. Now, they're still both good, but if you're asking me between the two, it was noticeable the Ursus could outperform it in that. And then this is the other aspect that I noticed as well, is that because it has such a gradual tip, you can really easily put your thumb, manipulate the tip, and if you like doing a lot of notching and you use your knife that way, I found that the Ursus was much easier to manipulate.
It's just so broad right there, and then it drops, so you either have to kind of come up here and do the push, or you have to, I don't know, you just don't get quite the leverage.
So you have to put your thumb almost on like a 45-degree angle, and it's not easy to manipulate the last inch of this knife in comparison to its sibling. So when it comes to the blade designs, I feel like it's really gonna come down to what you want out of your tool. If you're looking at it more as a utilitarian, heavy duty worker, that's probably the FC5. If you're looking for more finesse and precision, that's probably the Ursus. But blades aren't the only thing that go into a good camp knife. What about handle ergonomics that we'll address momentarily? Now I wanna thank one of our viewers for even making this video possible. Josh from In Element is one of our regular viewers. He has just recently started his own Instagram and YouTube channel, testing out and reviewing gear himself, giving a unique perspective for the average Joe. He and I had a great conversation over Thanksgiving. He was like, bro, I own the FC5. You should run it up against your Ursus to really see, how they compare. So he was willing to send this over to me. So I just really appreciate him. I appreciate all you viewers. It is truly you that make the channel go. Without you, I cannot do what I do. I'll have links over to his Instagram as well as YouTube channel. So let's support a fellow viewer and someone jumping into the review space, because we can always use more insight and different perspectives on the gear and equipment we use in our daily living. And I don't know about you guys, but with the constant changing weather as spring is upon us, I'm super glad I have the right apparel, and I love having good merino wool like my 72-hour proof hoodie that is exclusive to HUCKBERRY, and I'm glad that there's today's sponsor. And if you're new to Proof Apparel, their 72-hour collection of merino wool apparel offer a gateway to comfort, performance, and style on any adventure. because merino wool is softer, more breathable, and regulates temperature better than almost any other material on the planet. And over the last year, I've found that weekly I am using the 72-hour collection either as a base layer when I need to stay cozy and the temperatures are low, or as an outer layer as the temperatures increase. And it's not just the hoodies, half zips, and shirts that have been performing. The Rover series of pants, both single as well as double kneed, have worked extremely well for me in all sorts of different environments and held up really well, along with their Equator shorts, perfect as the temperatures climb and you want to get out and explore. So guys, I'll have links in the description box below over to the HUCKBERRY website so you can explore all the different options that Proof Apparel offers. And I will also be including my exclusive 10% off promo code that you guys can apply towards your very first purchase. So I recommend scoring some Proof Apparel so that you can overcome the elements on your next adventure. But I want to touch on blade steels first because you actually have two options. Now these are both S35VN steel, and I truly appreciate S35VN. It's a stainless steel, it is durable, holds a good edge, and it's very easy to resharpen out in the field from my experience. So it's kind of giving you the best of both worlds. There are much tougher steels out there. There are steels that are going to hold much better edges than S35VN, but it's kind of a do-everything steel that works great in the outdoors. Now, if you're looking for something a little bit tougher though, DLT Trading actually has exclusives on both of these knives that you can get in CPM 3V steel. Now, CPM 3V is also an excellent steel. I love it on my outdoor knives. It is extremely tough and will definitely be tougher than the S35VN versions of this. Now, 3V isn't a true stainless, and I found in comparison, if you ask me edge retention, I find that S35VN tends to hold its edge slightly longer than 3V, but 3V is also just a great steel. So I will have links in the description box below over to DLT as well as all the other affiliate networks that I partner with, so that if it's time to pull the trigger on either of these designs, you can go check them out. So leave a comment, let me know which type of steel you guys prefer on your camp knives in this size. Now both knives are going to come with matching fire steels, and between the two, the FC5, I mean FIRECRAFT, that's kind of the name, with this dedicated notch is volcanic in its ability to throw sparks. So if that's something you want to practice, if that's something you want to do a lot, this knife definitely has a leg up because of that notch. The rest of the spine after the jimping is 90'd as well, so you can still scrape with it, so you can still throw sparks with that as well. Now, the Ursus 45 is no slouch. It can definitely still throw sparks really well, and that entire spine has been 90'd, so it still will get the job done. Now, both of these knives sport some of the best factory Kydex you can find. If you were gonna go get this custom made for yourself from a Kydex maker, you'd probably pay $75 to $100 easily. That's the value in these designs, and they're almost identical. The FIRECRAFT will have these cut-ins, and just eliminating a little bit of weight and giving it some style. You're gonna get the matching fire steel, as well as an ambidextrous Kydex attachment with a leather button snap loop so that you can dangle it off your body and you can put it on your belt without taking your belt off. The Ursus 45 is almost identical, just doesn't have those cut-ins. You're gonna get that matching fire steel, and you are going to have that ambidextrous button attachment for dangler option as well. And they both will have these little slits here that you could put a little Chicago screw with a gasket, and then when you slide it forward, it locks into place, and when you have it down, you can detach it. But these are excellent Kydex sheaths. Both are gonna serve you really well. Now, what about these wildly different handles? Now, they're both, I'll go like this, there we go, 4.75 inches overall handle length, and both gonna have different versions of micarta. You can choose different color combinations and those type of things. Now, when we look at the FIRECRAFT, you can see it's pretty wild. Now, the tang is crowned. The shoulders come up to match to it. It didn't create a hot spot. They've milled it well. They're not sharp on the shoulders there. And you're gonna get orange liners to kind of give you a little bit of a pop there. Now, when we look at just standard grip right there, fills out the hand, that cut in splits my index finger, didn't create a hot spot. But when I hold it in a standard ice pick or hammer grip like this, I got that floating because the neck is definitely narrower and is tapered slightly than on the Ursus. Now, if I put my thumb on that jimping, which is not super aggressive, you definitely can grab onto it, didn't create a hot spot, then I feel like I have the right appropriate leverage to either do a sweep cut or to do a push cut for a feather stick. But if I do just that standard hammer grip, I would have liked to see this a little fuller right there. Now, same with reverse chest lever grips. You can do it, but that's where this cut in and that split hump right there definitely digs right there into the palm of my hand. It isn't ideal. I could get a couple, you know, push cut or pull cuts if I have to, but it's not going to produce well. This is best suited for that ice pick hammer grip with your thumb resting on the spine, or reverse grip. Feels great in that. You know, if you're stabbing, you're gonna get great traction because of the massive cut in right there. And you do get a metal bow drill. Now, I am not a bow drill. I should learn that skill. The only person I've ever seen do it successfully is my buddy Aaron from Houghton Era Outdoors. Shout out to you, buddy. Crushed it in Florida when we were backpacking through the Florida, not Everglades, but, you know, Florida Trail. Anyway, so that does have that. That is a big selling point. That is nice to see. It's only on one side and didn't create a hot spot when I was doing my woodworking. Now, with that said, when we look at it compared to the Ursus is obviously much simpler. So most of you are going to know what I'm going to say. Finger does not float if I just hold the hammer grip, because again, this area is a little bit thicker than what you're going to find on that deep cut in right there. And so for overall, like, fine precision, going back to that woods crafting and those type of things, between the two, I would say my Ursus is much more comfortable, and I will want to work with wood and do longer cutting chores with the Ursus over the FC5. And these two knives are a perfect example of where simple, classic, just not a lot of stuff going on a handle particularly, speaks to the ability of a tool to be used out in the woods, and something with a lot of cut-ins, different transitions, jimping, aggressive points is great for, like, this is, I feel like the FC5 is basically like an outdoor tactical knife, field knife, you know, those type of applications is more suited. It's more designed for that. I would consider putting this on like a battle belt. I would not put the Ursus on a battle belt. So I mean, like, that's almost where I sit with these two tools. Leave comments below if you own one of these. How's it been performing for you? I hope that this video has been fun and entertaining, but helped you determine if you're considering a camp knife this summer and upgrading what you currently have. I hope this is giving you the data that you need to make a wise choice between these two tools. Thanks for hanging with me today. I hope you have enjoyed it. Check out the other video. Subscribe if you haven't yet. And until next time, always remember, stay equipped, stay prepared. I'll see you out there.